like out the door because I was still thinking about some things that happened in the book. So I was like, okay, so maybe I will give it. Yeah, I never say that. A reluctant 3.5. I think I'm going to have to. With you.
Well, I was not thinking about it after. When I put this book down, I was like, hallelujah, I'm done. And I ain't thinking about it until it's time for the podcast, which was 11 o'clock this morning.
Welcome to the Novel Universe with your hostesses Ashley and Dawn. We rate and review the newest and most buzzworthy books. We are true book club girls who don't always agree, but do enjoy a good book discussion. I'm Ashley, the fantasy architect.
And I'm Dawn, the criticizer of books.
Grab your favorite beverage and come and enjoy our universe.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Novel Universe with your hostesses, Ashley and Dawn. Today, we are going to be talking about the last book in the Last Hour series called Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. Isn't it pretty? So on the first two covers of Chain of Gold and Chain of Iron, we had Cordelia and then Lucy, and then this one has Grace on the cover, which I thought I should probably mention.
I wasn't sure.
Which is kind of cool. Yeah, right? You can see like Grace is like single ruin like on her hand, and like overshadowing in the background it is Blackthorn Manor, like covered in all of the dingy dark thorns and everything like that. So we are going to be spoiling book 1 and book 2 of this series. So if you have not read the Last Hour series by Cassandra Clare, sorry in advance. You can check out our earlier podcasts over the past few years because we have most definitely talked about both books, and we were like, we have to talk about the third one because we've already made it this far, which is a feat for Dawn and I, because usually we don't agree as to how long we're going to continue with this series. So this is the third book and final book of the series. So again, apologies in advance, but you will probably have some spoilers being read out to you if you have not read book 1 and book 2. Highly encourage you to read book 1 and book 2. Book 3, gotta finish it out, gotta see how it goes. So without further ado, so we're going to talk about it. So we were left in book 2 where Cordelia basically sees that her marriage is crumbling with James because she still believes that James is madly in love with Grace, and she ends up running off with Matthew to Paris. And James has a very big revelation from Grace because he learns that he's basically been under a love spell his whole entire relationship since knowing Grace, that she's put there. And so we're moving into this next book with Jesse has been resurrected from the dead, because Lucy has the ability to bring the dead back to life because of her connection to being Belial's granddaughter. Her and James have a connection to the shadow world. So that is not common knowledge, though, that everyone knows that the Prince of Hell is basically Tessa's father. So, that's a whole other thing, though, that nobody knows about. And we might be running into in this book. So those are just some setting the stage for you guys as we kind of head on in here. This is, this book basically has a ton of villains, ton of character development that happens throughout it. And hopefully you kept track of all 70 million characters that there are in this book, because there are that many of them. So we still have Tatiana has been shipped off to basically be tried for her crimes. Grace has been sent to the Silent City for the same exact thing. Alistair is basically still wanting to live at home with his mom, his mom is pregnant with, their sibling. Their dad has died. Cordelia and Alistair's dad has died. Am I missing anything else from that whole?
We can just start. We'll be here all day.
Yeah. We'll be there all day talking about it. So, without further ado, Dawn, what did you rate this book?
Reluctant 3.5. This was a slog to get through. It was like 800 pages, man, and it didn't need to be.
Yep. I agree. After much thinking about it, I definitely am not a 4. I had a hard time giving it a 4. I'm between a 3.5 as well. I don't know if it like quite deserves a 3. And that's just because like I have to applaud Cassandra Clare for at least like she has brought us from start to finish with all of these characters. It's just not my favorite type of reading.
Mm-hmm.
But I was still thinking about the book after I finished the book, so she obviously did something right because it wasn't like totally like out the door, because I was still thinking about some things that happened in the book. So I was like, okay, so maybe I will give it, yeah. I never say that, a reluctant 3.5. I think I'm gonna have to. With you.
Well, I was not thinking about it after when I put this book down. I was like, hallelujah, I'm done, and I ain't thinking about it until it's time for the podcast, which was 11 o'clock this morning.
Major you on, and her and I were literally around the same exact point. Felt like I read 3 books, but that's okay. So I guess we'll get right into it. If you guys are new to our podcast, we basically do a non-spoiler and then a spoiler section. So we kind of give you the best that we can about what we liked and what we didn't like about this book without completely spoiling it for you. But again, if you have not read book 1 or book 2 in this series, at this point in time, I mean, you're just all spoiled. So buckle up for that. So let's go ahead and get into our dislikes. What was one of your dislikes, Dawn?
Well, I believe the obvious one is too long. It's 778 pages. That stuck with me when I finished the book, the page number. And it was just a lot of the couples just like professing their love over and over and over. I'm like, oh my God, Thomas and Alistair, we get it. You love each other. I don't need to read it 3 and 4 times. Too long. Too long.
Yeah. That was mine too. There is no reason why this book had to be 700 pages of character fluff and 100 and something of action. Yeah. I'm sorry. There was no like easy median to it. I think I said this in the last book as well. It lacked plot. Like there was a lot of plot, like just missing to kind of help carry us through with all of the characters. And I'm just like, I don't know if I was, it kind of, I don't know, I guess this probably just goes into my second dislike, where it's like everything just kind of felt like it was like all of their little mishaps were all like just kind of served up to you in a little platter, like little bow, like here we go, everyone's tied up over here, everyone's tied up over here. And I don't know if like I've grown out of that, or I'm like, or am I just, was it too much tying off loose ends, you know? I didn't like that, and I think it's because there just wasn't that like plot struggle. It was more of like, do I tell them that I love them? I don't know if they're gonna accept me. It's been so long, so I'm not sure. Like, just like, yeah, and you're rolling your eyes because you know, like, that was the circle. It was just constant. Like, do I tell them? Do I not tell them? And I'm like, how long do you need to contemplate that? Like, we're constantly together. Let's chit chat, shall we?
And it was every character, like legit. Ariadne. Did I tell my mommy that I like ladies? Thomas and Alistair. Do I tell my Mary Thieves that I love Alistair and they all think he's a dick? Lucy. Do I tell Lady Cordelia that I love Jesse and I don't know that I can race the dead? Is she not gonna like me anymore? It was like all of them. I'm like, dude, y'all need to get it together and stop this miscommunication bullshit. And the main one was the whole bracelet thing. I'm embarrassed. I don't want to tell my friends. And I'm like, dude, I swear. Matthew, do I tell my mommy that I almost killed her with poison? Like, all of them. Oh my God. Oh my god.
Yes.
That's why the book was 800 pages.
Literally, because that's all they did the whole time was like back and forth, and I was like, come on, you know, which stinks because like I really liked the characters in book 1. In book 2, I was like, okay, like I'm still okay with them, and then like some of them fell a little flat for me because I wanted to be like, can you do it? Can you talk about your feelings or no? Really think it's gonna like the bracelet thing, that was the dumbest thing.
Yes.
Well, I want them to love me for me. You were under a freaking spell. Like, hello? What do you mean she's not gonna understand? She's not gonna think it's genuine. Are you kidding me?
She was probably like, thank Jesus that he was under a spell and that he actually didn't really love her. Like, that's what she wants to hear.
Right. And she's waiting for it. She's literally... Anyway, because when that whole revelation happened, you know, then it was like, why do we take so long? Your problem's been solved. It's fine. I can't.
Yes.
What was your second dislike?
Okay, so here is my my second major dislike. Belial and Tatiana and their constant like, come join me. I'm about to rant, Ashley. It's ranting time for Don.
Okay.
It's ranting time for Don. Okay, so Belial and Tatiana, they are trying to get their people over to their side and to like believe in them, and they're just like, oh, but you can have all the power in the world if you join me. How many freaking times do they have to tell them, no, I'm not interested? No means no, Belial. Leave me alone. Like over and over and over and over and over again. And then she's like, you're gonna have the world and promising you all this. Excuse me, it's 1982. They're already wealthy. They already have all the power in the world, and they're white. What else is there? There's nothing left. Oh, you want to rule the underworld? Who cares? Who cares? Nobody. They're not offering anything good here. And they just kept asking them, don't you want to rule the world? And they'd be like, no. And then they're going to ask them over and over and over. I'm just like, oh my God. Oh, no means no, devil. Can we please just stop? Once again, 800 pages of this. Yeah. Rant over.
Yeah. Yeah, well, my next dislike was along those lines. It was more of like, seriously, these villains, I can't. We got, you know how like there's like the class A actors and there's the class B and then there's the class C. The ones that, you know, you on a budget, so you're going to hire the budget ones to do your job. That is what these ones felt like to me. Like, their whole purpose for what they were looking for was just, it was so little. It was so little. There was nothing else to go along with it. Like, why they would choose to do that. Like, when I think about, like, when we talk about, you know, Songbirds and Snakes, you know, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes with President Snow before he became like crazy evil and whatever, like there's a whole back plot to that, right? Mm-hmm. There's a whole laying the groundwork as to why he is like as devious and conniving as he possibly is and so evil is because of all these things that have happened. Well, I'm sorry, you're wanting to take over London for what? Why? That's it? You want the crown? You want the sash. You want someone to say, I dub you, Belial, Prince of Hell, to rule all of London. That's it. That's all I got. It was so underwhelming. And when we're met with all three of those, you know, little plot hiccups, it's just like, there was no celebration after, you know, I was like, oh, good job. Oh, I'm sorry, that was probably hard. Oh, I'm so glad you're not hurt. Like, it just very underwhelming. Like, mm-hmm. I was upset.
Yeah.
here. I always try to find something good about what I'm reading, and I just, man, I don't know if it was just the season that Claire was writing in or like what, but like I feel like we got, we didn't get the good prime rib.
No, and I don't.
We got the $12 Tuesday special.
I don't know if, because I didn't read City of Bones, and I can't remember who the big baddie was in Infernal Devices, but I feel like she is not a good villain writer. Like, I don't think that's her strength. Her strength is coupling and romance and love triangles. That's her strength. And maybe that's why the whole showdown at the end was 100 pages and the rest of it was 800 pages. I don't know. But yes, it was incredibly underwhelming. And to add to that, and I'm going to add the Tatiana part of it. So Tatiana is pissed because what did Will laugh at her at a party or something? I don't remember. But she's angry.
He made fun of her. He made fun of her
when she was like 15. And so she's been pissed for 30 years because Will made fun of her when she was 15. Here's the problem. We know Will Herondale. We love Will Herondale. We know that he's not a bad person. He's not like Alistair, who's a mega douche. No, we know Will. And so when she's like all angry because he laughed at her at a party, we're like, but Will's cool as hell. What are you talking about? And so we can't sympathize with her. And villains need to be sympathetic. I cannot sympathize with a whiny woman who's upset with the character that we all know and love. Like that. So I don't think Cassandra Clare knows how to write villains. I think that's her problem. I don't know. You guys let me know. I didn't read City of Bones, the series. I don't remember the villain in that series. I don't know.
I think that might be what the problem is, because even like when that was introduced to us, like when we find out like why she was mad, he was like, oh my gosh, like we were like 15. Like, are you kidding? Like, I'm sorry, but like, oh my goodness. Yeah. I will have to say my next thing that I did not like is that there's a tragedy that happens within the book, and I'm not going to say what, but like, I just felt like it lacked purpose. The purpose for the tragedy, like, you didn't have to do that. And I know that like some people are mad about what happened because it was purposeless. Like, there was no main thing that it did. Like, when you think about like other books that we've read in the past where it's like this one person's sacrifice literally has like spun everything else into action or whatever, and it was kind of like a snooze fest in a terrible way. Yeah in a terrible way.
We'll get into that in the spoiler edition.
Absolutely we will. That's number one.
I don't like James. James is a snooze fest too. I like Matthew. Matthew has way more personality than James. So the whole James and Cordelia, I could give a shit. I don't like James. So I like the first part of the book where they were in when Matthew and Cordelia were in France. After that, I was done. I don't like James. So I like Will way better than James. I like Lucy a lot. Love Lucy. James is the worst. He's like Tessa. She's the worst. And so is James.
Well, see, and it's like, I know that like they were supposed to be like the forefront of this book, right? You know, Matthew and Cordelia and James. But I'm sorry, but Lucy, Jessie, and Grace, sign me up. Sign me up. They were way more better to like watch and read about than those three.
You talking about a menage a trois? What you talking about?
What?
They're 15. You're gross. I'm just kidding. And they're no. Yeah.
Wait, there were just other characters that I was way more excited about reading, which is terrible because I loved Cordelia. Daisy, Delia with all of her little names, like,
Oh
loved
my.
reading about her. And it's like this particular book, I was like, oh, I had some issues. I had some issues with my loves.
Yeah, and
Matthew,
and the issue
I
is
still love him.
James. James
It
is
is
boring.
It is. Let's see. My next thing that I did not like, and maybe this is just me, but I just felt like there were some moments within this book where we're met with like the characters like inner demons, right? Like their inner problems. And it's like it's talked about or whatever, but then it's like, why did it all of a sudden like fall off the face of the earth? And I'm talking about Matthew in particular. Like he's got this big thing that he's been like holding in his heart, and it's like we're not gonna like have that moment. We're not gonna have that moment. Okay, that's cool. You know, like very similar to like Anna and Ariadne's like stuff too. It was just like we're built up with this, and then it kind of just kind of fizzles out. Like we don't really get that whole ending moment. I don't know.
Girl, I was listening to this book too. And I did not, even though I own the book and I had the book next to me, I didn't pick up the book. But it was one of those endings where the narrator would pause and I'd be like, yes, book is over. No, she keeps talking. And I'm like, oh my God. And then she talks some more. And then she pauses and I'm like, oh, yay, book over. No, it's the next day. I'm like, oh my God, no. Like, I was like, if she takes one more pause, I'm done. I don't care. I don't care. I'm just going to stop. And I did. So I don't know how it ended. But yes, they was just like, and Matthew talks to his mom. Yay. I'm like, really? We don't get to be in that? Is that a spoiler? Maybe that's a spoiler. I'm going to stop. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah. There was just a lot of unresolved things. It was like it was laid out there, and then it's like, no, we don't get anything with it. But we might. I don't know. The way that the book ends, I'm not really sure where she's going with that. That was also another area where I was highly confused.
I wasn't.
We'll
talk about it in the
spoiler. Like, are we really like entering into this realm again?
We'll talk about it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't like the chapter, the burial. I didn't like that. I didn't like that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Of the burial.
The ending is all a blur for me, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Are there any other dislikes that were to note?
No, I have a couple of nitpicks, but I don't have any more dislikes.
All right, it's nitpicking time. Go for it, girl.
All right, first nitpick is I think I'm over love triangles. I think I'm over it. I've never hated a love triangle if it's done well. I don't have a problem with it, but I'm over it. So that's my first nitpick.
Okay.
It was too reminiscent of Tessa, Jem, and Will. It was just the same thing in a different bow, in a different box, I should say.
Literally, it's just different wrapping paper.
Yeah,
it's the same.
That's what I meant.
Same method. So
that's the idiom I was looking for.
Yeah, my nitpicks are very much literally the same exact as yours, except for the fact that I wanted more of other characters, and instead I got more of the ones that I didn't want. And so yeah.
My only other nitpick is, okay, so there is a scene where two characters are having intimacy time, and one of the characters said, or this is what is being described in the moment, she sobbed as she begged for, wait, let me start again. She sobbed as she begged him for more. I don't like that. I was laughing. I was like, she sobbed as she begged him for more. I'm just trying to I'm picturing this person sobbing. Sobbing means like heavy crying, right? Not like tears. I'm like sobs, like heavy crying. As she's like What do you think she's saying? Please, please don't stop, or baby, please, baby, keep going. I just did not like that for some reason. I don't.
My last little nitpick with that scenario, because I think I know what you're talking about. I didn't like it. It was like very YA for me. It was very much like, okay, this is what everyone, you know.
Well, it is YA.
I know, but like I'm like, we're building up to this. It was like, oh, an end scene. Okay.
I actually don't like reading sexy scenes in teen fiction because it makes me feel gross. So I usually skip over anything like seriously intimate. I skip over it. But I just happened to catch the she's sobbing as she begged for more. I just happened to catch that.
I know.
You want to go into likes?
Yes. I will. Yes, I can definitely start with the likes here. My first thing that I really, really, really liked was Lucy has this underdeveloped power that Claire does not talk about how extent her power is. Like we know that she's powerful, but like it's very underwhelmed. And I'm like, this girl is a badass. Like, okay. Can we talk about time A, time B, time C, like all of these things? And it's just kind of like we kind of skip over it, and I'm like, she's amazing. Like, let's talk about her. Because there's a part where there's like one of the battles or whatever, and what she conjures up, I'm like, yes, girl, go for it. I'm here for it. For that moment that happened, I was here for it.
She's basically the Night King, for those of you who watch Game of Thrones. She can raise the dead, and she can make them do stuff. But it never felt as big in the book as what we imagined it to be.
Right. Because I don't, again, it's like just very underwhelming. And I think I've said that before, like with a bunch of this stuff. It's like, can we talk about how amazing that is? Let's talk about it. Because if we did, like, it would be even better. This whole would be even better.
Yeah.
What's something that you liked?
I liked that James and Matthew didn't like jeopardize their friendship for Cordelia. James clearly said to her, I'm in love with Grace. So there should have been no miscommunication there. So for her to go off with Matthew, he shouldn't have been like, hey man, that's my woman. No, you made it pretty clear that you wanted Grace. So I did like that they never like fought over her. They were like, look, whoever she decides, we are going to be like cool with it. That's it. And I was like, yay. However, once again, it is reminiscent of Will and Tessa and Jem. So
yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I absolutely loved Grace. Just put your names together. I loved Grace's growth in this book. I loved who she turned out to be because, you know, like she was written super well the first two books. I was like, what is going on with her? And I felt like, you know, these B actors, if you will, like they were way better. Like they had more growth, they had more development, and her whole just purpose in the book wasn't to get like people to like her. It was literally just to be used for good. Like just use me for good. I don't care what you do to me, however you say it or whatever. And I really liked that. And I liked that like the Silent Brothers as well, like noticed that, because like she's sentenced to the Silent City and they're like, I don't think you're wrong. Like, I don't think you were wrong on purpose. Like, you didn't have a choice, you know? And I was like, oh, okay. All right. I was there for it.
Yeah. My only other like was I didn't really have too many likes. I didn't hate this book, but I didn't like love it either. I loved book one. I like the conversation Thomas and Matthew have. They don't like Alistair, but they were willing to be like, okay, Thomas, if you like Alistair, then we like him too. And it's just a really strong friendship that they have with the Merry Thieves. And so I did like the conversation that they had in the middle of the story and not at the end. And just all of that.
Sure. I actually really liked the Merry Thieves in this book. I like that we kind of got to see them like band together in a lot of different moments, and it's like, oh, okay, like this makes a lot of sense. Like, and I'm all for it. I'm all for like, you know, there's a scene in the book where basically the four friends are like split up and they're like, so you got me, did you? You got me, did you? And I thought it was super cute though, because it was like they really stuck to each other and they were really there like to help each other kind of just go through and process like everything. And yeah, that part I really did like. Otherwise,
I did have one more like, and it's stupid, but I liked it.
okay.
Well, speaking of stupid, so when Christopher was practicing he was trying out his little messaging system, and the first one he had Thomas sent a message to Alistair, and his message said, wait, let me find it. He said, you are stupid.
Like, I love you.
Yeah. You are stupid. I have to go brush my teeth. I laughed out loud. And like Cassandra Clare is so funny. Like some of the stuff she comes up with is hilarious. She just cannot write a villain, but that was so funny. He was like, "Did you write me a letter that said you are stupid? I have to go brush my teeth?"
Because it's missing the whole other half of like the letter,
Yeah.
you know. And so it's like Alistair being like broody douchey. Alistair is like, what the is he talking about? I'm stupid, and you need to brush your teeth. Like, I don't understand. Like your little mental note list. I thought that was hilarious. Also, there was another part of this book because we know that like Lucy like has been writing like novels, right? Like Lucy like lives in a fantasy like world, and she knows that Cordelia. Her new title of the book is like the evil, the terrible Cordelia or whatever, and like. Cordelia goes to read it, and she's like, "This is the silliest thing I've ever read." It was like, now's not the time. Like, I'm gonna talk about this spoiler, but I was dying laughing.
Yeah.
There were like little moments like that, and I'm like, oh, so like this is their friendship. Like this is their like weird quirky side. Like, again, she writes them really well. She writes characters really well. Let's 700 pages.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I feel like I'm on like the Real Housewives of the Shadowhunters. That's what I feel like right now. Like, let's
And that's the title of the podcast. Let me get a pen. I'm always waiting to hear the title.
Sometimes we come up with some really good ones, guys. Oh, that's what it felt like. You're just sitting down, bashing each other. I love you. Okay, it's not real.
Yeah.
We're gonna email each other. It's fine. But anyway, for those of you who are not going to join us in our spoiler section, our next book is going to be From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. So if you have not read this book, highly recommend. This is one of those really buzzworthy new series that I have been seeing personally. So I'm making Dawn read it. So if you are interested in hearing us chit-chat about that, that's going to be what's on the next book for our podcast. Otherwise, we are going to spoil Chain of Thorns in 5, 4,
3, 2,
1.
Okay. I would like to start with Christopher.
Okay.
So Christopher dies. However, I was like, this doesn't seem correct. He doesn't die on the family tree. The official family tree, he lives several years later, and he gets married and has kids. Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yep. Someone else was commenting on that, how, like, it was just, like, an interpretation. Like, it was put up there, but like she basically decided to go wherever she wanted. And I'm like, so is this real? Like, is this a real thing?
Is it? Somebody needs to ask her, because how you just gonna erase a whole wife and kid? Like, I don't know who he's married to. I don't know if it's like one of the main family members, but
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. It was hard to like read it because it would blur out. But
it says that he does go, according to Shadowhunters fandom, Christopher went on to marry Grace Blackthorn and had a son with her.
Oh yeah, that's right. So she can't just erase Grace Blackthorn. That you can't do that. She's a major character. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry if you hear the buzzing in the background. That's my computer. My bad. We're a low budget podcast, guys. We're no high quality podcast. Yeah. So I don't know what that means.
I have no idea. I don't know. Someone else, like, on Goodreads had commented how, like, what is the family tree, like, obsolete? Because even with Matthew, like, we don't know what happens to Matthew. And some, like, it's not on the family tree. Like, his is blank.
Well, that makes sense. So I'm actually glad that it's blank, because if her next series maybe focuses on Matthew, she can continue to write his side of the story, which I'm glad of, because now I can't accidentally or purposely go and look and spoil it for myself. So I'm okay with Matthew having a blank family tree. But the whole Chris thing, I'll stupid.
I know. Because it's, well, and like the way that like she writes it, right, is that like, you know, like they're supposed to like end up together, and Christopher literally dies and comes back to help Grace in this time of need, and I'm like, where's what? But he's supposed to be there. Like, they're supposed to be together. Like, I don't know. I don't know. That part was like so sad, because like I loved their relationship. I love that he like visits her in the Silent City. I love that, you know, he's not like, oh, you're just like the perfect girl for me. What, like, he lets her figure herself out and who she is, and like knows that like she's crazy smart and like all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm like, geez Louise, but like, and then his death is so underwhelming. Yeah. It's so underwhelming. All we get is like Anna, right? Mm-hmm. His sister. She's like, she tries to save him or whatever, and then he's just gone. And it's like, oh, well, you can come and see them. There you go. Like, that part made me angry, because like when they're in the midst of like these big battles, like, where are all the other shadow hunters? Like, where, like, you're supposed to have called them, you know, we have like this inner mixed realm of all the other old characters, and now it's all of their siblings. So like, where did they go? Because they made them so prevalent in the first two books. Like, their whole storylines were all intermixed, and now like they're just like taken out after Tatiana's accusation that brings them to, you know, trial or whatever. I'm like, but if Belial's trying to take over London and everyone's seeing all of this, like where did they go? Why did it take them so long? Why are we going to talk about it? That part made me mad, because I'm like, okay, so now the parents are not in the picture anymore? Yeah. Like, whose story is it now? Like, I don't, like, that part was very confusing. And I think if they would have showed up, it would have added to, like, these big events. Or it's just, like, I felt like they just came in on the end. And it's like, well, you had them intermixed throughout the whole first two books. So why are they not here? It was weird. Like, it wasn't, I don't know, maybe it was just not consistent with, like, her original, like, type of storytelling. Because we got more of, like, Will and Tess, you know, and, like, all throughout the first two. And I'm like, well, where'd they go? You know? And the only other time where it's brought up with, like, when Tatiana steals, what's her name's, like, brother. Yeah. Like, that's it. Then everyone's there. For some reason. But then again, it's even, like, I don't know, like it just kind of felt like now we're trying to focus on like this, you know, the offspring of everyone now, and it felt like it was like too quick of a clean cut, if you will.
Yeah,
Because they're in the mix, now they're not.
as I was reading it, I was thinking, where are Will and Henry and Charlotte and Tess? Like, where is everybody's parents? Like, why are they not here? If they're like stronger fighters or more experienced, and I don't know. I can't remember if she put them somewhere, or I can't remember what happened. I honestly don't remember where they were.
They were on trial. They were on trial for Tessa's like being basically tried as Belial's grandmother.
But what about Charlotte and Henry? Like
I think they all went. They all went to testify or whatever. And I'm like,
no.
Okay, so the whole time now Will's telling like James, newly married James and his wife, you can't stay in your house. It's not safe for you. You need to all come underneath like mommy and daddy's roof. Like, I don't understand that. And then all of a sudden now we're going to have these big old fights and you're not going to be there.
Yeah, you know? And I was like equating it to like Harry Potter and like the Order of the Phoenix. When shit was going down, the Order of the Phoenix was there. Where's the rest of them? Yeah,
right? I was highly confused. I'm like, we made a big deal about bringing back these people because like Tatiana's whole guff with, you know, Will is, you know, him making fun of her. And so like, okay, well, she's not her children's problem. She's their problem. So why are they having to deal with Tatiana? They shouldn't have had to deal with Tatiana. But yet, Cordelia is the one that kills Tatiana, which I'm sorry, that should have been someone else entirely, but that's okay. That was also underwhelmed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's, you know, I loved that moment between like her and Grace and like Cordelia, like forgiving her basically and like, no, like I'm going to protect you, like whatever, but still. It was a little like, again, underwhelmed. But I loved, and we're going to talk about her death. I love that Lucy bought Rupert back. I was like, get her. It was so funny. It was so funny because he was like, I don't want you dying with me. You're not the woman that I loved like all those years ago. Now you some crazy drunk on like power woman. I want nothing to do with you. You send me back. Nope. I don't want you to contact me. I don't want you to find me. None of that. I was there for it. 100%.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the very, very end. And you were like, where is she going with that? She just needs a new villain.
Okay, so how is Jeff? He is somehow like the mastermind behind all of the things happening, right? Like even with like James's power, James references Jeb's like encouragement of like, you need to find your strength here. Like it's your power. It's your like whatever. You don't hear about James referencing like Will and like how to deal with his power or anything like that. It's like Jeb's just standing outside and all of a sudden like the new Prince of Hell's like, hey, so I know what that sword can do. So you don't come after me, I don't come after you, we're good. Sound good? Like what? What is that? Like, is Jeff just gonna stand there and be like, okay, cool, sounds great. See you in 50 years when you decide to change your mind?
Yeah, like when he has to battle James and Cordelia's kids, like
I don't understand. Like that to me was like, that's the ending. Like that's where we're gonna leave that. Like there's so many books. Like there's so many books in this whole entire fandom.
So this book is late 1800s, and City of Bones is what, 2000? She got a whole lot of time in there, girlfriend. Do all kinds of stuff, and she gonna do it.
Right. Because her people will read it.
Yeah, I'm gonna read it. It's a whole 100 years up in there that she got to work with.
Yeah. It's just, I think it's just because, like, you know, we had like the Tatiana thing, we had the Lilith thing, okay, and we had the Belial thing, and it was just very much still like, is that all the fight we're gonna get? Like that's
Yeah, with
okay.
Lilith, she was like, tricked you, cheese, bye. I'm like, that's it? She tricked her? That was it. Okay.
That was it. That was it. She tricked a freaking demon. Tricked her real good. Like, oh, but it was in my words. I said, if harm was brought to him,
got
it's
you.
okay.
Got him. It's like, girl, no. It's so stupid.
And here's the thing too, is even like when that whole revelation was like happening, I was like, well, no doubt, because you didn't say you were gonna kill him with your sword. Like, you personally. Like, it was very just like, huh.
Yeah, there's not much to spoil, guys. I mean, all of that takes place in like 75 pages. Like, that's it.
Right. I can't.
Did we find out what happened with Charles? Like, I mean, they made such a big deal about him being blackmailed, and that was it?
So, yes, but hold on.
Ashley's choking.
So Charles got off because he basically like was able to like prove that Inquisitor was like trying to blackmail him, and so he was like made basically the next Inquisitor, essentially. Yeah.
Lame. It's because his mom and his dad are like his mom is like the head of the institute, I think. So.
Right, and then like they have like Christopher and Charles are all of a sudden like they're fine, they're good, no problem, we're okay.
Yeah,
it's good. So I did like the fact that like he wasn't just like, whoa, because I'm in charge, you know.
But they were setting Charles up to be a pretty good villain, though, and like a mini villain, like a nuisance, and I kind of like that because he was like different than Matthew.
Yeah, I did like that because they are two opposite sides of a coin, which I really enjoyed, because I feel like, you know, like Christopher and Thomas, like sometimes I like couldn't remember like who.
Oh, me either.
Was who, because they read very similarly. And so at least with them, the only time I ever knew that it was Thomas, it was when he was with Alistair. And I was like, wait a minute, was Thomas in love with Charles? I think that's what it was, right? But Charles wasn't.
I thought Alistair was in love with Charles.
Yeah, okay. I think you're right.
Yeah.
So
because Ariadne was with Charles. That was when it was good. Book 1, when it was all these people in love with each other, but they're not in love with each other because they're in love with somebody else. Like, all that stuff was fun. And then when she started getting into the whole Bilal thing, I was just like, I don't care about this. Let's get back to the love fun stuff. The Real Housewives of Shadowhunters. I like that more than this plot crap. I don't care about that.
Yeah. Well, and it was like, I feel like Anna and Ariadne, like their whole like love situation was too like, it was one noted for me. Like it wasn't really like a big moment with that. Because again, like she gets kicked out and now she's moving in with her, and then it's like this whole back and forth thing of like, does she love me, does she not love me? I don't know. Do we want to be together? I don't know.
That's because Ariadne was stupid. She was not stupid, she was boring. Anna has lots of personality. And you put her next to Ariadne, it's like Ariana is gonna fail immediately because Anna is just way too much personality. And so once again, I didn't care about them. Don't like Ariadne, don't care about them.
Someone wrote, like, I had to write this down because I thought it was funny. Someone wrote on their review of Goodreads, she goes, Anna is a queen, but Ariadne's arc was nice but flat. Because it's like super true. I want to talk about like so we've had like both of our main characters, Matthew and James, had like their tiff, and then we had Cordelia and Lucy like have their tiff. And when we get to like James and Matthew like kind of figuring it out and having that moment in hell where they're like, you know, like, I don't want to fight with you, but like, remember, like, your sin is your silence, not what you did. Like James says that to Matthew, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so good. Like, that's the type of like parabatai, like when you think about like a parabatai and how they're supposed to like know you inside and out and like be there for you 110%. Like I was there for it. Mm-hmm. And I also like, because then Lucy and Cordelia have their moment when they're in hell, and it's like the book. Like, first of all, I have to say, who brings a book to hell? Who thinks I might have time in hell to write some stories about the evil Cordelia?
Lucy.
And I'm like,
that's why we love her.
Are you kidding me? Like, I laughed so hard because I was like, who brings a book to hell? I'm sorry. Like, that part was so freaking funny. But again, I was there for it though, because I was like, they never got to have like that parabatai like bonding right away, because Lilith stole that from Cordelia to have that. So it was nice to see like what their relationship would be like, you know, moving forward, if they were able like to break the bond and whatever. So
did you gasp when Matthew and Cordelia were about to get it on, and James was like, "Hey guys," I was like, "Oh my god!" Oh. I was like,
"Are we doing this? This is happening. Like this is that." Okay, again, the first like, what is it, 150 pages?
Yeah,
so good,
so good,
so good. I was like, here they are. Again, you know, Shadowhunter world, like they're going to the bars and there's all these wraiths and vampires and all this stuff going on. And they're both like, you know, let's just stay in like our Paris romance. James is like, hey guys, I'm back.
What y'all doing? What y'all doing over there?
Yes. I was really sad though when I found out that Matthew was still drinking. Yeah. My heart did break. Like, it broke for him because he had so much going for him. And it's like, even to still have him struggle with that, even when he's like happy, right? Mm-hmm. Like in his own made happiness. It's like, so what would you look like if you were really happy? Like, are you ever happy? Is it always a front, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just so sad. I will also like say that like when Cordelia is like having this realization moment that she's like, yeah, I'm still in love with James. I can't do this with you. Don't want to lead you on. I applaud her for going to talk to him. I really do. Yeah. None of this like, well, technically I'm married to him. Yes, you are. But at least you had the decency to be a human being and talk to him like one, and not just drag him through the dirt. Because guess what? Y'all a threesome. You're going to be that way for a while. Maybe not in sexual regards, but like, he was always going to be there. So would you rather like build a relationship or continue to move forward? Like, just very childish. I really liked that. Because then, like, when Matthew's having his withdrawals from alcohol, he is, you know, really struggling, and she steps out and basically contacts all 4 of the married thieves and is like, listen, y'all need to go and help him. And Alistair comes too, and it makes me so happy.
You don't have the book, do you?
No.
There's a picture of all 4 of them together.
Oh no, I did see it though, because I looked at the picture in the store.
Yeah. I thought that was a really good picture.
Not like you guys can all see it, but I was there for it.
When they're like all there with him.
I did like that though.
There's so many pictures of people kissing.
That was sweet.
Can I find it?
Okay.
Yeah, here it is. And then the Oscar. What's the dog name? Oscar.
Oscar.
Even Oscar was a good character.
Yes, look at them all.
Yeah.
I loved Oscar.
Yeah.
He was like the winning MVP for that whole entire thing. Yeah, I loved it. Well, do you have anything else?
Mm-mm.
Me neither. So yeah, we really hope that you guys do at least finish on the journey. I think I'm glad that like I finished the series though, but at the same time it was just a lot. It was a lot of context to sift through.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was okay. It was all right. Anyway, guys, our next book is going to be From Blood and Ash, again by Jennifer L. Armentrout. So we hope that you guys will continue to stick around. If you have any comments as to what we should read next, we are always open to that for sure, because we definitely need book recommendations as always. But until next time, we will catch you in the next podcast.
Bye-bye.